Hello everybody, and we're now back to objective number 3 in lesson 7. We've made it this far. Okay, now this one I will absolutely be, actually everything or mostly everything in this lesson, I'm going to come back with a bonus and extra exercises for you guys to practice with. But we got to get started. So objective number 3, create a data table. And the data table is a range of cells that show how changing certain values, or as I call them variables, in your formulas affect the result of the formulas. The first what if analysis, we were allowed to change one variable or one value. The data table, we're allowed to change either one or two variables. It's either a one variable data table or two variable data tables. And it always reminds me of when you order pizza. This is the way I order pizza. You've got three things. It's hot, it's fast, or it's tasty. You can have two out of those three. You can hot and tasty, fast and hot, or tasty and hot, but you can't have all three. And so that's what a two variable data table is. You can have two things that you can kind of compare. So think about pizza. And so that's what we're going to do, and definitely we'll be coming back and doing lots more exercises and practices in this guide. So for example, banks may offer loans at different rates for different periods of time and require different payments. By using a data table, you can calculate the possible values for each argument and really make a much better assessment than you could do with a single value like a goal seek. So a one variable data table changes the value in only one cell. It's either a column or a row. We'll get into all that. And the two variable data table changes the value in two cells. For example, if you want to see the different interest rates and different payment periods, why not? It could be if you want to see the different interest rates, the one variable. So it's more useful-ish. I personally love these, but I'm a weird person. So, activity 7.04, we are going to design a two variable data table. I'm also going to start stepping outside my comfort zone, and a couple of things I'm going to be doing in this exercise are not exactly in the book, but I do want to introduce them to you to hopefully make your life a little easier. Keyword being hopefully. So we know that the PMT has three required arguments. The PV, present value, how much is my loan, the rate or the interest rate, and the number of periods or NPER. Because Alana would like to still borrow that 300K, and she still needs that fixtures and furniture, she's decided to she's selected for the new store. In this data table, the present value, the PV will not change. So we are of the mind she cannot borrow any less. So now the two values we have the option of changing is the interest rate and the number of payments. So yeah, it's beginning to make sense now. And so the possible periods can range from 24 months to 60 months, from 2 years to 5 years. And the interest rate will vary from 5% to 3%. All right, now I'm warning you guys, this is tricky. So take your time and don't be worried if things don't work out. They do, it just takes a bit of time. So now we're going to go to the Houston new store loan amount. There we go. Oh, wow, we're going to go there. And then in A1, we're going to type in the lower edge of the worksheet. We're going to click on the payments table worksheet. All right. A1 and payments table worksheet. Okay. That's a weird way of doing it, but I'm good with that. And in the payment table worksheet, in B2 to B4, we're going to enter these values. 300,000, 36, and 4%. Okay, and B2 to B4. B2 to B4. So So B2 is going to be 100, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I guess I have to do some kind of formatting. I'll get there in a second. Okay, $300, comma, 000, because we're telling Excel how we want the format, and then you press the Enter key. If you go back and click on cell B2, it goes to currency. You know that it's also called a floating dollar format because the dollar sign sits snug next to the values. The only thing that's a little different is you notice there's still a little bit of space on the right hand side. The period or number of payments is going to be 36, 3 years, 36 payments, 36, and the interest per year, I believe, is going to be 4%. So again, I'm typing things in exactly the way the book wants me to, 4%. Now, when I come back and do it again, the one thing I'm going to do slightly differently is I'm going to apply color so we know which cell refers to which cell. Now, for you guys, you're going, what are you going on about, Deb? Trust me, when you see this, you're going to love it. So that was number 1. That was number 2. And in number 3, in cell C7, we're going to type in 24. And then we're going to press the tab key and C30. We're going to use the autofill to go from 24 to 30 and 30 to 36, 42. So it's going to be increments of every 6 months. So C7 is 24 and tab. So in C7 is 24, tab key. C, and then it's going to be 30. Enter. Then I'm going to highlight both the C7 and the D7. Bottom right hand corner is the autofill, and I'm going to drag that all the way across until I hit or I see the tab or tag 60, and that is in I7. Okay. Did that? Looks good. Perfect. In number 4, in B5, this is the one that people tell me that they have the most difficulty with. So we'll make sure that we take our time and go through this. So in B8, we're going to type in 5.000. Enter. Okay. You saw me type it in, but no matter what, because of the way the format is, as many times as I type in 0.000, it's only going to display 2. So let's see, what does the book want us to do about that? Does it want us to do anything? And in B9, we're going to type in 4.875. And when we type it in, it's going to come in as 4.88. That's perfectly fine because it rounds up or down accordingly. Okay, and paste. So even though we see the 3, or we did see the 3 digits here, and we do see the 3 digits here, they're not being displayed. Okay, they're going to highlight those 2 guys again. Fill handle, drag it down to B24, and then you're going to discover the increments are 0.125, and it goes from the high of 5% all the way low down to the low of 3%. Gotta be honest, guys, I normally do it the other way. I normally do the lowest value on the top and the highest value on the bottom. Yeah, that's okay. So what we're going to do is do the autofill, keeping the cells still highlighted. We're going to go Home tab, number group, and increase the decimal 1 time. Okay, autofill, highlight these two guys. We're going to highlight B8 and B9. Bottom right hand corner, autofill. I believe I'll find out in a minute. It's the B24. I did that. While it's still highlighted or selected, then I'm going to go to increase decimal places. So now it's 5.000 and everything else follows suit. 4.875, 4.750, looking good. So across, this is considered the row, okay? And this, and I know how stupid I sound, and this is considered a column. Yep, again, I know how stupid that sounds. So that's number 5. Number 6, we've increased the decimal. Then we're going to go back up to A1. Ours looks exactly like the picture. And row 7 represents the number of monthly payments. And the range B8 to B24 represents the range of possible annual interests. So think about it. Row, column. So activity 7.05, we're going to use a data table to calculate the options. We're not even quite there yet. We're still missing something. Something really, really important, like the formula. Right now, these cells don't know what to do with themselves because they've not been given any instructions. And that's what we're going to do next. So recall a data table is a range of cells that show how changing certain values in your formulas affect the results of these formulas. All right. In this activity, we're going to create a table of payments for every combination of payment period, which is represented by the column titles under number of monthly payments, and the interest rate with the row titles to the right of the rates. Alana can find a combination of payment periods and interest rates that suits her and will enable her to go forward with her plan to borrow the 300K. Alrighty, so what's going to happen is we are going to create the P&T function. In fact, it's going to be in B7. Okay. And when it refers to certain cells, it could be referring to the loan amount, the number of payments, and the interest rate. So in B7, can we type this out? Yes, we can. Okay. There's two ways I like to do this. Number one, I like to type out the P&T. It's just too convenient for me to do otherwise. Caps lock on equals, because it's a formula, P&T left bracket. I'm going to let it tell me what to do. Now, I don't know if you guys can see, but the word rate is bolded. So I'm going to go up to B4. I'm going to click on B4 and I'm going to divide it by 12. Remember, 12 monthly payments. The interest rate is 4% per annum. Not annum, divided by 12. And every argument is separated by a comma. Right now, Excel is waiting for me to tell it what to do. And I'm going to put comma there. So it says, first section done. Check. Now we're going to do the number of payments. And it's going to be simply whatever is in cell B3. Sometimes you have to do the calculation. Sometimes you don't. Now that's all we need to put in there. We're done with that part. We're done with that argument. Comma. And I know what I want to do with the last bit, but I have to follow the book. All right. B4 divided by 12. Number of payments is B3. Yes. Hallelujah. Finally, they're doing it right. So what they're doing is they're saying minus B2 or minus the payment amount. That way you force the positive value and it will work in a data table. Negatives and this do not play well together. So in the PV, I don't know if I was supposed to type this or not, but so minus the amount of loan. Okay. What I'm pointing out to you now, even though we're not doing anything about it, is every cell has a different color. I fully take advantage of the use of color to make it easier for you and make it easier for your clients or your customers or your colleagues. That's everything I need. Oh, let me do that again. When you're typing out a formula, underneath the formula, see this little text box here telling you what to do? When I close out the bracket, the parenthesis, it should disappear. Boop. It did. I'm going to press the enter key. There's my formula. Yep, it's right. $8,857.20. Okay. What I'm going to do, even though it's not in the book, I am going to do this. Number of payments, let's give it a color. Number of payments, color. Interest rate, give it a color. And interest rate, give it a color. Now the only one is the amount of the loan, even though we're not necessarily going to use it. Let's give it a color too, just because. Green. Okay. And if you really want to go nuts, let's give the PMT a function. PMT, let's give that guy a color, or if you want to, even apply a different font color. That's nice too. Okay. Why did I do the color? It makes it really easy for you to focus on who and or what's doing what. You now know at a glance is number of payments, interest rate. Well, we're doing nothing with the amount of the loan, but yeah. The other thing I do, yes, it's not in the book, but I do it, is I always create a big outline around the table. Font tab, font group, and border. Why do I do that? Because when you go to select it, a lot of people make a lot of silly mistakes, or not silly, they've never done it before. So this is not in the book. I'm just introducing it for you now. Hopefully it's not too confusing. The day I've had, my brain is scrambled. Okay, so we've got the formula done. And oops, I was supposed to use the insert PMT function. I already failed you. And we found out at this time, with this formula, we're still dealing with that value. This is going to be the answer to our prayers. Okay. So then we're going to highlight the range B7 to I-24. B7 to I-24. And if you weren't sure, because you created that beautiful outline, you'll never forget. B7 to I-24. Then we're going to go to the data tab. And I know I have a really strong feeling I'm doing this not the way the book wants me to. Okay. Data table. Nope, oh, I'm doing it. Data tab, forecast group, what if, and data table. Now the one most difficult step for everybody learning this is, what do I put in the little boxes? And I have a solution for that. Okay, so data tab, forecast group, what if analysis, and data table. You've got two boxes. Where is the row input cell? And you notice it's blue 24, blue 30, blue 36, blue 34, 42, blue 48, blue 54, blue 60. So what I do is, well, I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm looking for, but I use the color. So I go blue to blue, and it's going to be the period in months, number of monthly payments, period in month. So I'm going to click on the cell B4 because that's my row input. So in the formula, the PMT, one of the inputs is the period in months. Now the column, up and down, I know you guys thought I was silly, but there's the reason for it. So the column is interest rate. Also, you got this beautiful yellow mud puke color. All right? So over here is going to be the amount of the loan, period of months, nope. Or that beautiful yellow again. So it's going to be B4. So what is going to happen is, let me see if I can do this without getting too convoluted. It's going to populate the table, and every single cell is going to create a PMT. And it's going to create a PMT where it uses either the row or the column. I'll show you what I mean. Oh. Now this cell here, and it looks really freaky when you look at it. Okay, because it's called a table array. That's why it looks like it does with little curly thingies. It says it's a table, B3 and B4. B3 is the period of months, and B4 is the interest rate. So B3 is the row, and B4 is the column. How does it work? Every single cell in here has created its own automated PMT function. And so instead of using 36, it replaces it with 24. Instead of 4%, it replaces it with 5%. So instantaneously, it creates a PMT of 300,000, period month of 24, and interest rate of 4%. What is the result? And it gives you the result. So there's a little mini PMT function that is going on in the data table, and it uses either the row and the column, like this guy down here. So it does its little magical PMT function, and so when it comes to the month, or it says instead of 36, I'm going to replace it with 42 because it's in my row. Instead of 4%, I'm going to replace it with 4.25. And so that's how come it comes up with every single value. So like a gazillion million little PMT functions, and they all depend on two areas of interest: your number of monthly payments and your interest rate. And if we've done this right, if we go to 36, and if we go to 4%, here it is. So this proves my point. 36 months, 36 months. 4%, 4%. Sweet. Now they want us to do something else. They're not quite done yet. So we've done that. It looks good. Now you get a bit of an idea. That's 8. Okay. So we selected the range B7 to I24. And we've done the what if in data table. B3 and B4. So B3 and B4. So we did all that. Okay. Then we clicked on OK, and then we're going to click on cell. Do F8. Why are we going to F8? Okay, 7,891. So that's pretty darn close to 8,000. It's not there because anything bigger will not work. So $7,800.91 is about the closest below $8,000 that you can do with 42 months and 5%. Is there any better deal than that? Maybe I just can't find it. So that asked us to click on F8 because that's the closest underneath $8,000. You have to go looking for it. There's no magical way to do it. And examine it. We've looked at it. Yep. And it's as close as you possibly can get to the 8,000. So 42 months at 5% yields the closest result. I agree. And so far, so good. Next, they want us to highlight the range F8 to F19. All right, I'm not sure what's going to go on here. Let's see. F8 to F19. And then we're going to go to the Cell Styles Gallery, Data and Model, and Note. Okay. This part's a bit weird, but anyways. Okay. Home tab, Styles Group, Cell Styles, Data and Model. Where's my note? There you go. So these guys are of interest to me. The closest is this guy, but then you got variations right down to 7,616 and 33 cents. So done that, done that, done that. And I scratch my head. And it highlights the desired payment options. So it's saying, okay, Alana, the best choices you have are anything highlighted in yellow. You decide what works best for you. I've given you the choices. You pick which works best. So then we're going to highlight B8 to B24 and C7 to I7. Oh man. If you can't do it in one go, don't sweat the small things. We can do it in two. B8 to B24, C7 to I7. B8 to B24. I'm going to do them separately. I know I'm not very good. And C7 across to I7 and fold. Okay. And there you go. Looking good. Mine looks different, obviously, because I've added a few little bells and whistles. And by using a data table option, you can see Alana can get a loan for at least 42 months or 3.5 years for any of the interest rates between 5% and 3%. So that gives us a lot of choices to work with. Yeah, it makes it very doable for her. So it's going to be the same thing.